What's happening, Fringe fam? It's PK here from Fringe Sport, and today I'm going to talk to you about the founding of Fringe and what brought us to where we are today. 15 years, that's 15 years of doing this. So come with me as I take you back through the journey to where we are today. So let's go. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo, doodly-doo. So a little bit longer than 15 years ago, I was a young pup. I'm 45 right now, so I was 30, a little bit younger than 30 when I was thinking about Fringe. I was getting my MBA from the University of Texas, and I wanted to do my own thing, to have my own business, to create value in the world. At the time, I was working for an e-commerce company, and while I loved e-commerce, I loved that direct consumer way that a company could reach without any middlemen. No Best Buy, no Target, no big box stores. You could directly impact your customer. I loved that, and I loved something else. I loved CrossFit. I had gotten bit by the CrossFit bug. So prior to me getting into CrossFit, I had played soccer in high school, although I never made the high school team, which is like my everlasting shame. And then I came to the University of Texas here in Austin, Texas, and I played on the rugby team. Now, the rugby team back then was, well, we like to tell people, we're a drinking team with a rugby problem. And while the UT rugby team is a lot better now than it was then, that was a pretty accurate description of what we did then. We drank a lot on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, well, basically every night. And then on Saturday, we went and we hit people on the field, and then we went out drinking with them after that. So that was the rugby team. And I remember back in those days, the coach, who was a volunteer, would say, hey, you guys need to hit the gym. So we would all go and hit the gym. There was no S&C or strength and conditioning coach. And when we hit the gym, we would do curls and bench press until our arms and pecs were about to fall off. And then 2 days later, I would be walking around campus like this because I was so sore here and on my pecs. Like if I ran down some stairs, I would scream because my pecs were bouncing and I was so sore. But I wasn't squatting, I wasn't deadlifting, I wasn't doing power cleans, I wasn't doing anything that anyone who knew what was going on would tell you to do when you're in a power field sport. So that was my exposure to S&C back then, strength and conditioning. So after college, I got out and I started running. So I started distance running and I got really skinny. So I'm 5'9", ideal male height. And I got down to around 170 pounds, but I was super skinny. I didn't even like how I looked when I looked in the mirror. And I wanted to start lifting weights. So I started buying, Men's Health and Muscle and Fitness magazine and doing, this month I would do this routine and the next month I would do that routine. And guess what? Nothing ever worked. Then somebody told me about this new thing. This is 2005. They told me about this new thing called CrossFit. And I was like, this is weird. Let me check this out. So I went and I did a little bit of CrossFit. At the time, there were 2 people in Austin, Texas that were advertising CrossFit. There's a fella whose name I forget, really cool guy, but he was like a kettlebell guy, and then he had picked up CrossFit because he thought it was the newest fad. And then there was Jeremy Thiel. I was at Jeremy's very first UTB Under the Bridge free workout for CrossFit. And then Jeremy, as well as his sister Carrie, opened up CrossFit Central and became very influential in both the Austin fitness scene as well as the CrossFit scene in the US and indeed worldwide. I got bit hard by CrossFit. I loved it. I tell people I fell in love with the barbell. I've always since then kept my distance running background. Even right now, as you see me here today, 45 years old, I make sure to run at least 10 miles a week, and I'm even notching that up. But that's really where I learned how to do barbell exercises. And again, I just fell in love. So I did CrossFit for a few years, and things were going well for me professionally. I went back to school, got my MBA, but I wanted to do my own thing. I was working in e-commerce. It was in appliances, so it's nothing similar to what we're doing now at Fringe Sport, but I wanted to do my own thing. And I believed in CrossFit. I thought CrossFit was gonna change the world. But I also believed that it was too hard to buy the products that you needed to build an awesome garage gym. I very vividly remember that CrossFit Journal #1 is What is Fitness? It's Greg Glassman's argument for CrossFit. And then CrossFit Journal #2 is the garage gym. I had a printed out copy of that PDF for the garage gym, and I think it's like 5 or 8 pages long, but it was just like ratty because I read it so many times. I was traveling a lot for my work, and I was just reading it over and over and over again because it made so much sense for me. So I kicked my wife's car out of the garage into the driveway, and then I built myself a garage gym. And when I say built myself, I remember I bought Krayberg bumper plates from Alf, the rubber man. I bought high temp plates from whoever was initially slanging them in Alabama. I bought a Dynamax 20-pound med ball from Jim, I think Cawley was his name. And I remember clearly, oh, and my barbell I bought from Glenn Penlay. I literally called Glenn. He was training US Olympians, and he's like, hey, I need to step away from the platform and talk to you, Pete. And I bought a barbell from Glenn. Now, but let's go back to that Dynamax med ball. Now, if you're an OG CrossFitter, you might know what I'm about to say. So anyways, I wanted to buy a Dynamax med ball, 20-pounder, those overstuffed med balls, so I could do wall balls at my house. So I called up Dynamax. The phone was answered by Jim, I think his last name was Cawley, who was the founder of Dynamax. And I told him I wanted to buy a 20-pound Dynamax med ball. And he said, no, I won't sell it to you. And I said, come on, man, I want this. And he goes, oh, you're one of those CrossFitters, right? And I said, yeah, I'm a CrossFitter. He said, CrossFit is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. And I said, well, okay, fine, whatever, but can you sell me a 20-pound med ball? He says, no. And I said, come on, I just want to give you my money and you send me a med ball. And then he said, are you as strong as an NFL linebacker? I said, no, I'm not. And he said, I train NFL linebackers and I train them on 6-pound Dynamax med balls. So you think that you're more than 3 times as strong as an NFL linebacker? I said, no, I'm definitely not. And he said, then I will sell you a 6-pound Dynamax med ball. I will not sell you a 20-pound Dynamax med ball. And I argued with him on the phone for 15 minutes until finally I wore him down and he sold me a 20-pound Dynamax med ball. And then I used that for wall balls and did, of course, all the CrossFit workouts with it. But I clearly remember arguing with him on the phone because he hated it and did not want to sell me the med ball. Now, other than that, I made gymnastics rings by hand. I went to Home Depot, got some PVC pipe, cut it down. I cooked it in my oven, the PVC pipe, and then took it out of the oven and then bent it around a paint can so that it would roughly have the gymnastics ring shape. And then I hung them up in a tree in my front yard. I also, prior to buying the Dynamax med ball, I found an old basketball, I cut it open and I filled it with 20 pounds of sand and I used that for my wall balls before I had that argument with Jim. And by the way, I would always get sand in my eyes when I was doing wall balls. And because it didn't have any bounce to it, it would drop basically like a slam ball. So I had to get really good at catching it. I also used just a normal jump rope and learned my double unders on that and all that stuff. So that's what I went through. Oh, my squat rack. My squat rack I bought off of Craigslist. You kids might not even know what Craigslist is anymore. Back then you could find squat racks, prostitutes, whatever you wanted. It was all on Craigslist. Not that I found some of those. But Craigslist was the Facebook marketplace of the day. I know it's still around a little bit now, but to be honest, I don't know who uses it anymore. But I bought a squat rack out of a collegiate weight room off of Craigslist. And it was a super sturdy squat rack, but it was non-standard because some dude had just welded it up. And while it was sturdy, it didn't accept all of these attachments that are, for example, our bread and butter right now. So that's how I built my garage gym. And me being in e-commerce, I was like, no way. Like CrossFit's changing the world, but people have to build half of their things themselves. They have to source some product off of Craigslist. They have to buy from 5 different suppliers. There's gotta be a better way. So again, I was in e-commerce. I read a really seminal book for me, which was Tony Hsieh, Delivering Happiness. And that pushed me in one way to say, Tony Hsieh had built Zappos, which is how to buy shoes online, basically. And they did it so well that Amazon bought them out. I thought, I need to do this for the CrossFit community. Also, another book that I read at the time is one of my friends gave me Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek. And I read 4-Hour Workweek as I traveled around the world for my job. I remember that I read most of it bouncing around in the back of an SUV in the Kuwaiti desert. It was like 120 degrees and our AC didn't work that well, but I didn't give a shit because I was so engrossed in what I was reading in 4-Hour Workweek. And when I read that book, I thought, I've got to do this. I can't dream about making an awesome company for our customers anymore. I need to actually do it. So I talked with my wife. We had a young child, and she was, of course, a little bit worried about, how I was going to support the family, because I was earning a real nice wage as the vice president of an e-commerce company that was growing fast and doing well. And I was proposing that I go from making north of 6 figures, or let's say, good 6-figure income, to making no figure income, at least for a while. She had a day job, but she had never thought that she was going to be the breadwinner, bringing home the bacon for the family. But I convinced her that I had a great idea, and Valerie supported me. So I started with one product, because my thought was, all right, if I can get people to happily purchase one product from me, then I've got what they now call PMF, product market fit. So I found some gymnastics rings, and I brought 2,000 gymnastics rings into my garage. I actually dismantled my garage gym. My wife was still parking in the driveway, so I didn't let her back in the garage. And indeed, 15 years, I've never let my wife's car back in the garage. Sorry, baby. But I put 2,000 gymnastics rings, 2,000 pairs of gymnastics rings on my garage floor. I started up a Shopify website, and I started selling them. And guess what? People bought them. So I was like, oh, this is pretty awesome. And so then I thought, okay, so number 2 is going to be, if I can sell somebody a pair of gymnastics rings, can I sell them something else that will help them in CrossFit? And so I got some kettlebells, put those on my garage floor. And lo and behold, I could sell gymnastics rings to some people and then sell them kettlebells. I could sell kettlebells to some people and then sell them gymnastics rings. So it was starting to work out. So then I got a few more products, again on my garage floor, and I was able to sell those. I was like, man, this is pretty awesome. At that time, I invited my brother into the business with me. And so he and I started doing it on the side. So I was still working my day job. He was finishing up college, and so doing it in between classes. For me at my day job, I was literally waking up early before going into work, answering customer emails, packing stuff in my garage. Then I would go and I would work the morning at my day job. Then on my lunch break, I would run to the post office and I would drop off all those shipments. And then I would also answer more customer emails and stuff like that. Then I would, after lunch, go back to my day job, work the afternoon and evening, which, by the way, I was not working 40 hours a week. I was working north of 40 hours a week at the day job. Then when the day job knocked off for the day, I would go home, answer more emails, try to design products, that sort of thing. So after I had done that for a year with my brother, a couple of things became clear. So first of all, in the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss talks about creating your muse. And to him, a muse is your source of passive income. And it was clear to me that Fringe would never be a source of passive income for me. But the other thing was, our customers were raving about us. Even though we only sold a few products, they were asking us, hey, can you start carrying, different barbells, clips, better bumper plates, things like this, that, and the other. That's actually the point at which I talked to my wife about going from my 6-figure income with a side hustle to a no-figure income. I also talked with my brother, who is my co-founder, and he was getting out of school. He did have a job lined up, but he wanted to gamble on Fringe as well. So I put in my notice at my job, and that was a real sticky situation because I hadn't told my job that I had a side hustle. To be clear, it was not competitive with what I was doing at the time, but I was in a really funky situation because I was VP of that company. We were doing about 55 million in revenue, and we'd been growing fast. And the CEO, who I was reporting to, told me that he wanted to groom me over the next 2 years to be the CEO of that company. However, I had already made my decision that I was going to leave to focus full-time on Fringe Sport, and he didn't even know about Fringe Sport. And so I gave him kind of a weird answer, which he thought that I was going to be over the moon and super excited. So he got kind of weird vibes. But then I put in my notice, and let's just say he was not super happy with me. That said, the way that I did it is I told him that I would work as long as he wanted, and I would hire my replacement. I would do anything he wanted. And we negotiated. He wanted a little more time, but we ended up with me working there 3 more months, which I thought was very fair then, and still today I find to be very fair. I helped him set up everything over at that company as best I could for me to not be there, and then I was out and I went to work at Fringe Sport. I took no salary, no payment at all for 10 months. So I went from earning my 6-figure salary, plus a nice bonus, plus a nice expense account, all that stuff, to making nothing for 10 months. And then after 10 months, when I did start making something, I paid myself minimum wage for about another 6 or 8 months. And then I gave myself a raise to $10 an hour. Woohoo! No more ramen, baby! As I was doing that, I ordered our first container of products. And I remember when that first container showed up. We were in a rented warehouse in South Austin. We had a forklift, but I was probably not the best driver of the forklift, let's say, and we didn't have a dock. And so I just put out the call to CrossFitters in the area and said, hey, I'll give you $20 if you show up and you help me unload this container. And lo and behold, 10 people showed up and we unloaded that container. It sucked, but it was awesome at the exact same time. And we expanded our product line significantly, and we just started selling. And our customers were really happy. We were starting to bring out our own unique products, and you, our customers, were really responding to that. So that was amazing. So over the next about 3 years, we started doing more and more products. So I'm a product designer by background. So we started doing more and more products that I had designed, and people were loving them more and more. You know, we were growing fast. Things were going generally well, although of course there were some speed bumps here or there. So during that time frame, 2 important things happened. Important thing number 1, I had mentioned before that I was super into CrossFit, and I thought in my brain that I had started a CrossFit equipment company. However, CrossFit had another idea, and any time that we used the term CrossFit in any marketing, even like a hashtag on Instagram, we would get a cease and desist in the mail with CrossFit threatening to sue us. It got to the point where I knew Dale Sarin, the chief legal counsel at CrossFit, on a first name basis and had his cell phone. I did not know anyone else at CrossFit HQ. I didn't know Greg Glassman. I didn't know any of their seminar staff. I didn't know Dave Castro. Now, I knew a bunch of people who knew all these people, but I didn't know any of those people. But I knew Dale Sarin really well because Dale kept threatening to sue me. And I kept calling him, telling him that I'm trying to walk the straight and narrow path. And could he please stop sending me cease and desist letters when a marketing intern adds the hashtag CrossFit to an Instagram post. Now, 15 years in, I never have been sued by CrossFit, knock on wood, and hope that I never am because I'm very thankful for CrossFit. But I eventually got the message that we were not a CrossFit equipment company. However, what I noticed is most of our customers were doing what I did before I had even founded Fringe. They were building gyms in their garages. And so that was the start of our pivot to where we are today, which is leading the garage gym revolution. We are designing commercial grade, amazing equipment for you to put into your garage. When I think about you, our customer right now, I'm designing product that will be the most awesome product possible. Great product, great price, world-class customer service for your garage gym. And that we live every single day. So that was important thing number one that happened. Important thing number two that happened is I had been traveling the globe, going to every bumper plate factory that I could find, because it offended me that all of these CrossFit gyms would say, don't drop the 10s, don't drop the 10s, don't drop the 10s. All right, so now I'm a little bit crazy about this. I believe that inanimate objects have a soul and a purpose, and they want to live out their purpose. A bumper plate is designed to drop and to withstand that drop. And so I was searching for a way that Fringe Sport could manufacture 10-pound bumper plates that could withstand being dropped. And I remember one day I got a sample from a factory, and the bumper plate had these interesting striations in the rubber. I remember I opened it and I could see right away that something was different. And so I threw a couple of 10 pounds, one on each side, onto a bar, and I snatched it and dropped it, snatched it and dropped it, snatched it and dropped it. No tacoing. Back in the day, and even today with some cheap so-called bumper plates, you get this tacoing where they like fold over. They can't even bear the weight of the bar, especially if they've been slammed down a couple of times. So now these plates with those striations, they didn't taco. I immediately got on a flight. This factory was in China. And I went to go visit the factory, which I hadn't visited them before. I just got the sample. And what I found there at that factory is a rubber engineer who was specializing in bumper plates. Now this is interesting. Prior to this, I'd mentioned that I'd been in a bunch of different bumper plate factories. Let's say that that's me misspeaking. I'd been in a bunch of factories that made bumper plates, but they weren't bumper plate factories. The same rubber that goes into bumper plates is the rubber that is used for tires and gaskets. It is vulcanized rubber. And so prior to this factory, every bumper plate factory that I'd gone to was a tire factory and or a gasket factory that was making some bumper plates on the side. This factory that I went to was a bona fide bumper plate factory. By the way, they did make some gaskets on the side, but they principally made bumper plates. And it had been founded by a young rubber engineer who shared some of my similar thoughts about bumper plates. And so he and I formed a working relationship where I gave him my ideas about bumper plates, about durability, about feedback, about how customers were using them. And then he kept engineering them to be better and better and better. And through this partnership, we produced a bumper plate that fast forward now today, maybe 12 years after I started doing business with this gentleman, we can lifetime warranty. The only bumper plates in the world that have a lifetime warranty. Now, the reason that I mention this as being so momentous is that it showed me that by obsessing on something that other people, other companies don't even care about. Other companies were saying, don't drop the 10-pound plates. Which, by the way, even today, some companies say that on their website, don't drop the 10-pound plates. I found that I could obsess and make a product, which in this case, 10-pound bumper plates, that were superior to all else in the market, and then customers would love them. If you look today online, you ask, what are the most durable bumper plates? Fringe Sport, Fringe Sport, Fringe Sport. Because other companies don't obsess about these little things. So I learned the value of obsessing about things that I and we thought would be valuable to our customers. And fast forward now, years and years later, it's really paid off. I'm sitting here in a Dane 2, which is another product of our obsession over what's going to make an awesome product for our customers. Great product, great price, world-class customer service. That's what we did since day one in my garage, and that's what we still do 15 years later today. So as we grew and as we expanded, we had morphed into that garage gym type of focus, and we started changing the products that we were developing for our customers. We had our garage squat rack with pull-up bar, which was the lowest priced, high quality squat plus pull-up bar setup on the market. We eventually came out with the Mammoth Belt Squat in combination with Kyle from Kaizen DIY, which brings the belt squat home in a cost-effective and compact modular package. We've got the Dane 2, which is absolutely groundbreaking in terms of the features and functionality that it offers at a very approachable price point. And as the time has gone on, we've gathered hundreds of thousands of customers who we think about every single day. How do we deliver great products at a great price and back that with world-class customer service? And we get to see our customers day in, day out. Literally, when I was walking into our showroom / small retail operation in Austin, Texas, one of our sales guys, Akil, was talking with a gentleman named Will. And when I walked into the room, Will turned to me and he said, "Oh, Peter." I'd never met him before. He just knew me from our YouTube videos. And he said, "You guys have great products. I came in here just looking for some strength bands, and I ended up buying a Dane 2 and a bunch of other stuff. And my garage gym is awesome." So I thanked him, of course, and told him to send us some pictures. This is why I do it, and this is why we do it. This jazzes up everyone around the office. We love customers, and we love cool product, and we love growing, and all that stuff is happening. And by you, our customer, being a part of this, you're part of the Fringe fam. Our Fringe fam is anybody who works here or has worked here or has partnered with us in any way to help us to where we are now, and you, our customer or our prospective customer. There's only two types of people out there. You're either our customer or you're gonna be our customer sooner or later. And that jazzes us up. Like, I could be working in a bank, or my dad's a geologist. I come from an oil family. I could be working, doing geology or in an oil field or something like that. But instead, I get to work with squat racks and barbells and bumper plates all day long, every day. I think about squat racks and barbells and bumper plates before I go to sleep at night. I think about them when I wake up in the morning. And I'm just thinking, how do we make better, more awesome, cost-effective stuff for you, our customer? It's a dream come true. Like, this is pretty freaking amazing that I and we get to do this on a day in and day out basis. And that's because of you. So I want to thank you for allowing us to serve you and live our dreams. And this is a video that I'm making after we've been doing this for 15 years. Let's make another one at 30 years. So if you've watched this long, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me and us to do what we do. And remember, we're creating great products. We're offering them at a great price and backing them with world-class customer support. You are the reason that we do what we do. And if you're still watching, you can make me really smile and go lift something heavy today.